All right, so we're on our way. We're going live. Here we are today. It's Friday, August 28th. It's kind of stormy weather. Supposed to get today and tomorrow some of the rain from the hurricane that come up through the Gulf. I don't know how much we're going to get. We got some rain yesterday, which we really needed badly. So with that in mind, we start every day the same way. We start every day with a prayer, and we just want to make sure that we're praying for people that are affected by COVID and everything that is going on out there. And it is just that way. We need to pray for everybody that's affected by the COVID, people that have lost loved ones, and we just need to keep we will get that done in one way or another and get it set up. So it tells me we're streaming live, so obviously we're online. But we have been talking this week about prosperity principles and personalities, and it is so important. Let me get a little bit better picture here. It is so important to understand and know ourselves. That there's the Shakespeare, to thine own self be true. So you've got to be aware of who you are. You have to be aware of how you think, because the first principle in prosperity principles is thinking. And if I'm not thinking correctly, then I'm not going to get what I really need to get out of what I'm doing. It just isn't going to happen. So yeah, I'm either searching for the truth or I'm not. So if you want the truth, you're in the right place, because we're going to provide that in every which way that I can. Uh, we have mathematical proof and so forth. So I think, next week is going to be even more interesting, because I'm going to get into the blueprint next week, and I'm actually going to show some examples of truth concept software. We're going to talk about some mathematical examples and put some validity on some of the things that I talk about. So you surely don't want to miss next week. It's going to be an exciting week, because I hope to dispel a whole lot of what everybody is doing out there, that they're not sure. They don't know whether it's right or wrong or otherwise. So the principles, we talked about personality D, I, S, C, and those four personalities, each of them have their own Achilles heel, so to speak. A D personality is a driver, doer, get it done, but they also can be a dictator and dictatorial, and really be a monster. Uh, those are the people that I have met along the way. Until I learned how to communicate better with that personality, I struggled a lot. I struggled with what I was doing and how I was doing it. So I want to understand that D personality. D personalities are great people to have on your team. They get things done, and they are more than anxious and willing to help you. So you got to remember that you're asking for their help, not telling them what to do. So if I jump from there to the S personality, I like to do the I personality last. The S personality is really a servant type personality. If they take on a challenge, that they are slow, they are steady, that they are get it done. They will just, they're non-quitting. They just keep right on going. They're so much into serving and helping other people. Their downside or Achilles heel is very simply, they promise sometimes a lot more than they can deliver. And that in fact becomes their Achilles heel in how they look at things and how they see things, and so forth. So it's just what it is. The S personality, or the C personality, is really they're the numbers crunchers. They're the people that want to make sure that it's correct. That they are the people that they want to do the math. They make a list. They follow the list. They prioritize the list. So they are great people to have on your team. They get things done. My wife is a C personality, and she is educated as a business accountant. That was her college that she went to for business accounting. My CPA. The people that I know are C personalities. Todd Langford, the guy that created the software Truth Concept. Todd Langford is he is an absolute C personality in what he does, etc. So it's important to understand that. The I personality, that's the inspirational person. They're encouragers. They're positive attitude. They're flamboyant, and I joke and say most of them are in Hollywood, which could be true, but in reality, they're the salespeople of the world. They're hi, how you doing? They're not afraid to talk to people, and if trained properly and committed, that they can be enormous team members, and making your team, your business, your position outperform everything else. So understanding those. Now, we are all a blend of those personalities. And if I think about seeing, thinking fits all four of those personalities. The I struggles with thinking, because they're the first one that blurts out of their mouth, and why did I say that? Well, they don't even think of that. They just say it. And they're obnoxious sometimes. They talk too much. I can meet that criteria. Remember, I said I'm a DISC. I'm sort of middle across the board in each of those, because when you do the assessment study, it is not a test. There's no right or wrong. Each of those personalities has a +5 down to a -5. So a plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're all measured across that. So, and usually one of those personalities is more dominant than the other. And there, so forth. In addition to that, when you're high on one side and low on the other, it also tells you something. And that's what the assessment does, and it's why it's so important. So in thinking, if I'm a thinker, I really want to make sure that if I'm a D personality, I take time to think. I'm quick to jump in, get it done, and so forth. So I want to make sure that I take time to think things through. The I personality struggles with thinking because they can't sit still for 5 minutes. They're just all the time on the go. I'm kind of thinking my 3-year-old grandson is going to be an I personality, and maybe an ID, which is what I am. I'm a DI personality. And so when I think of that and how that works, I look at my little Archer at 3 years old, and he can be a dictator. He tells you what, he tells you, me, Grandpa, me, I'm going to do it. And there he is. And he's just go, go, go. So when I think of that, I think of Hunter, my oldest grandson. He leans more towards the C personality. He's very meticulous. He likes to build robots. His father helps him build little robots at 6 years old. And when he was smaller, when he had a car or a truck, he didn't rum. He wanted to look underneath and see how the wheels turn. He wanted to see and understand what makes it go, and even take it apart and put it together. So it fits him. We are all of that. So thinking is the critical thing because it's principle number one. Principle number two is seeing things. Now we're back to that perspective that I talked about. Your perspective is how you see life. Your perception is how you interpret it. Your perspective is like the palette. You're sitting there, you're going to paint a picture, and you have a palette with all these colors. You see it, and there it is. That's how you see life. This is life. But when perception comes up, perception is how you take the palette and you start to apply colors and how your perception works. You have the ability to change your perception in what you do. And that is so important that you do it that way, and just simply to make sure that your perception is correct. So many people have the wrong perception, and therefore it leads them to a wrong premise. And all of those things, those miscalculations, those errors in how you see things, comes back to thinking again. And then the most important becomes the measuring. You know, in learning how to measure, I have to raise my C personality up in order to help me measure. And when I measure, it's about measuring correctly. You know, yes, 2 and 2 is 4. But, you know, over a long period of time, the answer isn't 4 anymore, because opportunity cost, inflation, and depreciation of the money all come into play. So the 2 and 2 is 4 today. 2 plus 2, 10 years from now, is not going to be 4. So when I'm measuring the future, when I'm making financial decisions and I'm trying to measure where I'm going, I want to make sure that I'm measuring correctly. Okay. And those personalities, you know, the D personality, they a lot of times they're an MBA, they're business runners, they drive business, and they are and can be analytical. A lot of D's are DC personality, and a lot of C's are CD personality. And that brings a lot of analytics to the picture, which sometimes is very good. But the analytics is worthless if you're not doing it with all the ingredients. And it's not wrong. I don't think anybody's wrong at what they're doing. It's just you come up with a wrong answer because you didn't use all the ingredients in the calculation. You know, I was talking to 2 young ladies yesterday, and we were talking about being your own bank. They have a gym and they do gymnastics. They've been doing it for a while. They're busy. The pandemic has slowed them down. But I know in their evaluation and running their business, they are just having a conversation with them. They are a little bit of all 4 of these personalities in the way they operate. Sometimes it's the way partners bring to the table different personalities. That's why they get along so well. Most people that get married, they marry opposite personalities, and therefore they complement each other. And if they were 2 Ds, there would be headlines in the paper. They both killed each other. You know, they got in a fight and they both died in the fight. I don't know. So that's what we're talking about. Understanding personalities, because your personality is going to be a big influence on whether you listen to me. Maybe you're already bored. You're a high I, and I'm not exciting enough for you, so you're gone already. I don't know, but I have to think of that when I make presentations. How do I communicate with each of those 4 personalities that are out there and listening to this presentation? So I'm just trying to lay the groundwork for next week. And next week, we're actually going to get into some actual calculations. I'm going to use the board. I think I'm ready now to start using my 2 screens and share screens and do some of the mathematics and share with you next week. So you want to promote next week. You want to be here at noon every day next week for what we're going to do, because we're going to take some of the basic concepts. 15-year mortgage versus a 30-year mortgage. We're going to talk about compounding interest and compound tax increasing, lost opportunity cost, and we're going to talk about all those things. And I'm going to do some samples next week as we build and talk about the blueprint, because the blueprint is your map. Now, if you're going somewhere, we're all going somewhere. We're all going somewhere. But those of us that have chosen a destination, retirement, future wealth, whatever it is, it's going to be a journey. But before you start that journey, when you go onto the GPS, it's going to ask you two questions. Where do you want to go? Obviously, but where are you now? And I think that is so important to understand. You have to know and understand your starting point. Where are you today? And that becomes the pin. You stick the pin in the map. Here's where I am today, and here's where I want to go. So how do I get there? If I'm driving, I have to look at maps and lay out. I can go to AAA and get a triptych, they call them, and I've done that in the past. So that's what's important in the process. So we're going to finalize in the next 2 weeks. We're going to finalize the Financial Mastery Blueprint. So in the next couple of weeks, when we're done, it's going to be available and it's going to be ready to be used. And we're going to talk about every detail of it. We're going to incorporate the prosperity principles. And oh, by the way, I'm going to add in the next 5 principles. I'm going to talk about those on Monday and sort of stretch your mind a little bit on what we're doing. Well, that's all I have to say today. I wanted to talk more about personalities, perspective, perception, all of this stuff. You have to make a decision. Is this really what you want and where you want to go? Is this what you're trying to accomplish in going forward? So we want to know that, okay? So with that, I'm going to say sayonara. We'll see you on Monday. Don't forget, get my book, Life Insurance Will It Pay When I Die? Get it at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, other big booksellers. It's out there. And my newest reprinted book is right here, Life Insurance Will It Pay When I Die? This is an education, folks. This is not a storybook, because we hear so much about different kinds of life insurance. And what is in this book is the perception and the perspective of those products are in this book. Chapter 8 is the secret chapter on opportunity cost. And so it helps you understand how opportunity cost really works. Beyond that, you can go to cfo-project.com, which is above my head. And there you're going to gather and start gaining knowledge. It is an educational site. When you go there, you put in your name and email address, you'll get a link and a download of my new book, The Family Money Farm. So you can have it as a PDF on your computer, you can have it as a PDF on your phone, and get it for free. But in that site, I'm going to ask you to invest in yourself. Invest $47 in yourself for the 4 other books that are there. Life Insurance Will It Pay When I Die? Jumpstart Your Financial Freedom. Live Your Life Insurance by Kim Butler. I wrote the foreword to the book. And the other one is Nelson Nash's book, The Infinite Banking Concept. Part 1 is what you get, which is the concept. And then in addition to that, there is a 1-hour video that you will get a link to. That 1-hour video has the basics of everything in it from front to back, from starting today to retirement, to getting out of debt and getting control of your money. So with that, heartfelt goodbye. We'll see you tomorrow at noon, not tomorrow. I'll see you Monday at noon. I may pop in here over the weekend with some personal stuff. I don't know what I'm doing this weekend, but hey, God bless. We'll see you next week.